and welcome to Darvanalee Design Studio. My name's Nicole Reed, and today we're going to be making this cute little water resistant mobile phone cover for those summer days where you're beside the pool or on the beach. So let's get started. Okay, so there's just a few things that you're going to need today. The first thing is you need to head over to our blog, and there you will find the cutting instructions and the supply list that you need. But I'm going to run through a few things that we need today as well. So you need some wonder clips, very important because we're actually working with vinyl today. We also need a rotary cutter, some matching threads, some thread snips. You're also going to need a Teflon foot or some tissue paper if you don't have a Teflon foot. You're also going to need some thin vinyl, okay, because we're able to use the phone through this vinyl still. It's just to keep the water and the sand off if we're at the beach. You need some outer fabric, as I said. A fat quarter will be perfect for this. You need some foam, sew-in foam such as Matilda's Own or Bosal. And you're also going to need a product called Heat and Bond is the brand. And it's an iron-on vinyl. So what this does is turn any fabric, any quilting cotton that you've got into a vinyl fabric. So I'm going to show you how to use that. As I said, the cutting instructions for the measurements and everything are over on the blog, and there is a print off for you over there. Just click on that link and you can print it off straight from Google. So this is so we're going to talk a little bit today about Heat and Bond vinyl. I first come across this a couple of years ago, and I use it for my toiletry bags mostly when I make them, anything that's going to be near water. So it comes with full instructions on the back, and we do have this listed on our website. It comes and goes all the time. It's very popular, so if there's none there, just check back. There'll be more stock coming in soon. So yeah, it just comes in a 2-yard sheet of it, and you can just cut it from there. It's in a roll, and as I said, it comes with all the instructions on the back. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to use it. Okay, so you can see here I've cut my piece of fabric, and it is measuring 7.5 inches by 8 inches, and the iron-on vinyl is the same measurement. So you can see here that it comes with a piece of paper on the back. It's gridded, and then one side is shiny. Well, that is the side of the shiny side is the vinyl, and you're going to need your iron, and you're also going to need an ironing pad. And basically all you're going to do is peel off the vinyl off the sheet of paper. So you just peel the corner off, and it just comes off, and one side is slightly sticky. It's just a little bit tacky. It's not sticky that it'll stick to everything. It's just a little bit tacky. That goes down onto the right side of the fabric, just like so. And then we take this piece of paper, and you can see that it still has a bit of a shiny side to it. It's just picking up the light there. We put that side face down and the gridded side of the paper up. So now we can use this sheet to cover our piece of vinyl that is covering our fabric, and you want to make sure that everything is lining up, all your raw edges are lining up, and then we just take our iron and we just press that on. You just do that for about 20 seconds, depending on your iron and how hot it is. This iron actually gets quite hot. And then basically all we do is we just grab that paper, we let it cool just slightly, and you just grab that paper and you peel that back. And you can see there that I don't know if that's picking up, you can see there that the vinyl is now adhered to the fabric. So that has now made it water resistant. Not waterproof, but water resistant. So now we're ready to use that in our project. So all you're going to do after you've done that is you're just going to take your short edges, and you're going to fold them in half, and then you're just going to finger press it. Okay, if you need to press it again, you just put that piece of paper straight back over it again. You can use baking paper and also an applique sheet, but I just use the piece of paper that comes with it. So that then makes a nice crease, and we can set that aside. Next, you're going to make your binding. So I've just asked you in the pattern to cut 2 strips off your fat quarter at 2 1/4, and then you're going to basically turn this into a bias binding. So you fold it in half first, and press all the way along. Then you fold in one side to that center mark and then fold into the other, and then fold it over onto itself like so, and then you just press it into place. Once you've done that, you can set that aside. So you can see there I've just joined the two pieces and I've created my bias binding. So we're going to set that aside. Next, you're going to get your piece of foam, and there's not much sewing going on right now, but this is all the prep work for it. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of foam, and then you're going to take your piece of vinyl fabric that you've put the vinyl on, and it's cool now, and you'll feel that it's got a little bit of structure to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of foam, and we're going to line our straight edge up on that crease that we've created. And you can see here mine's slightly bigger. That's okay, I'll just cut that off and even that up in just a second. It was just a scrap piece out of my scrap basket. And then basically I just want to make sure that that foam is being covered by that fabric. Okay, and that's when I'm going to grab some clips, and I'm going to clip that foam, and I'm making sure that it's nice and snug up into that crease. I'm going to clip that foam into place like so, and over this side it's all even, so I can clip that into place as well. And what this is going to do is just hold everything nice and even for me. So you can see here I've got a little bit of excess foam here and a little bit of excess foam here. It's always better to have a little bit extra than not enough. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab my scissors, and without cutting the fabric, I'm just going to get rid of that excess foam. Okay, now we'll just take a couple more clips, and that'll hold in place. Because we can't iron this, we're not using fusible foam today, we're just using the sew-in stuff, and that's nice and perfect. If you find that it's puckering a little bit, just flip it over and lay it down flat and give it a good straightening out with your hands, and that'll make it all sit really good. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get our piece of vinyl. Now you can notice that our piece of vinyl is the same width, and it's just a little bit longer, and all we're going to do with this now is clip that into place. So where you've put your clips, we're just going to clip that like so. I'm still going to leave these clips in here because that's holding the foam in place until we're ready to sew. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and we're just going to sew that vinyl into place. So now is the time to put on your Teflon foot, or grab your tissue paper if you're using tissue paper, and then we're just going to sew 1/8 of an inch down these sides here. So down this side, around and up, and that's just going to secure our vinyl into place. Okay, so you can see now that I've sewn that vinyl on, okay, and it's gone on to what looks like the back. So now you look like you've got a little pouch, and this vinyl flap is just going to come over. But first, before we do that, we know that our vinyl is not going to move, but we do need to add our binding on. So basically all you're going to do is you're going to encase your binding. So how we do that is we just open it up, and we're going to lay it on one short side, and then about 2 inches down from about 1.5 to 2 inches down from where the folded edge is, just place a clip, and that's where we're going to start. And then you're just going to sew it down like you would normally sew a binding. We're even going to have mitered corners on this. Okay, so I'm just going to swap out the Teflon foot, and I'm going to use a bit of tissue paper because I find that a little bit easier. And I'm just going to put my 1/4 inch foot on, and now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just add a little bit of tissue paper to the bottom, and it is about the same size as the project that I'm working on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line up our raw edges, and about as I said, about 1.5 to 2 inches down from the where the telephone fabric starts, I'm going to put my binding. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm just going to do a couple of stitches and then go back a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to sew down to the corner. And at about 1/4 of an inch out from that corner, with the needle in the down position, I'm going to actually now sew off the edge. So I'll lift my presser foot up, and I'm just going to turn it so it's like the 45. Then I'm going to sew off the edge, and you don't need to reverse here or anything, just sew off the edge. Then cut your threads. Then what you're going to do, just like you do a normal binding on a quilt, you're going to flip it up. So you're going to flip it up on itself, so you get what looks like a little triangle just here, and then you come back on itself, aligning the raw edges up on the edge. So what this will do is still give us our mitered corner. Then pop it back underneath the presser foot with your tissue paper underneath, and this just helps because of the vinyl, it might grab. So we can see that that's all lining up, and then we just sew 1/4 inch all the way to the next corner. And stopping about 1/4 of an inch away with the needle in the down position, lifting it up, turning it slightly, laying it back down and sewing off the edge. Okay, so we're down to this edge now, and again we're just going to fold it up on itself. And then back down. Making sure everything is aligning up with your raw edge. So you can see there it's all aligning with the little pocket that we're creating. And then just back under the machine, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch again. No need to reverse or anything like that. Now we're coming up to the edge where we're going to go onto the vinyl, our little vinyl flat. When you get to the edge of the pocket, I always like to just do a little bit of a reverse there. So I'm just coming up to that now, and I'm just going to do a reverse and then continue on. And again, you're just lining up the edge of the vinyl with the edge of the binding. And when you get to that corner at the 1/4 inch mark, again, you just lift your presser foot up, lay it back down again and stitch off. And you're going to repeat that step that you've done at each corner. Okay, so we're up to our last corner, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch probably about 1/2 an inch down. Just do a back stitch, remove that wonder clip, take our little pouch out of the machine, and now what we're going to do is we're going to join our two pieces. Okay, so we've attached everything on there, and now we need to join our two pieces. So you can see here that I started about 2 inches down from this here, okay, and I've got all this excess. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim that off to give me a little bit more room to play with. So I'll take about 1 inch off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my quilting ruler, and I'm just going to line that edge up on the 1/4 inch mark, and I'm going to grab my marking tool, and I just use a friction pen for that. So I'm just going to, on the 1/4 inch mark, I'm just going to make a line there, and then I'm going to lay this on top, and I might have to just put you might have to put a little wonder clip there just to hold it in place. Then I'm going to, without pulling it real tight, I'm just going to lay it on, and you should be able to, depending on the fabric that you've used, you should be able to see a line under there. So basically I'm going to mark that line just like so, and this is just a guide for me. Then I'm just going to grab my scissors, and I'm not going to cut right on the line, I'm just going to cut just on the other side of the line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to join my pieces together. So I just put them right sides together and I make sure that those lines are lining up, and then I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You may have to put a pin in this to hold it together, just like so. Pop a pin in there. Okay, so I'm going to head to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I've sewn that, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to finger press that open just to get rid of some of that bulk. And now we can finish off sewing down to where we started. Okay, so now it's time to roll our binding over. So all you're going to do is basically make sure that it was open, and then you're going to fold in that edge, and then you're just going to fold it over, and you're going to line up your binding. So through the vinyl you can see if it's gone too far. So if it's gone too far, will see it like that. If it's too short, you will see it on this side. So what you want to do is line it up so it's nice and even, and then grab your wonder clips and just pop them on. And that's what I love about wonder clips. It's really good for working with vinyl. And you can see on the front here that the mitered corners are going really well. So what I do is I just go up and I make sure that it's going nice and flat like I would with a normal binding, and then I just bring that over, and then I just pop another clip in, and I do that all the way around, making sure that it's all even. Okay, so you can see there that I've just lined it all up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch along here about 1/8 of an inch. You may or may not need your Teflon foot for this, but because we are sewing on the fabric and we're using 1/8 of an inch, it should catch and it shouldn't stick to your machine. But just have a test of it and see if it does. Unpick the couple of stitches if it doesn't, put a piece of tissue paper underneath, and then you'll be right to go. Okay, so we've sewn down on our binding, and that's all in place. So now what we need to do is get rid of all our threads and everything like that, clean it all up, and then we are ready to put in our snaps. So you can see here that we've got a little see-through pocket, and our mobile phone will fit in there. But so it doesn't fall out, we want to actually have some snaps on the back. So then that way you can still use this whenever you're near water or anything like that. So basically what we're going to do now is add our snaps on. So basically what I want to do is have 3 of the female part and 3 of the male part. So there's the 3 male, and I'll need 6 of the heads. So there's 6 of those, and then I need some female parts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the binding as the first place that we put our snaps, and I'm going to use the male part of the snap. So I need to grab myself 3 heads and the 3 male snaps, and the male ones are, if I can pick it up, actually have a little risen part on them. So I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but you can see there that that's got the, it's got like a little raised part, and the female one actually has like a divot in it, so they fit into each other snugly. Alrighty, so what you'll need for this is something that you can poke a hole with. I've just got a tailor's awl, and I'm going to use that, and I just eyeball this. Basically I'm going to have a snap in the center, and then I'll have one off to each side. And I think I'll come in about 1/2 inch on each side. So you can grab your quilting ruler and your marking device, and that might make it a little bit easier for you. From where the binding ends, I'm going to come in 1/2 inch. And just in the center of the binding, I'm just going to put a little dot like so. And then the same over on this side. So you can see there that I've just come in 1/2 inch from where the binding ends here. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is take my tailor's awl, and right where I've made that mark, I'm going to stick that through. And then I'm going to place the head of the snap through that hole, get one of the male pieces, pop that on, and then I'm just going to grab my setting tool and just give it a light squeeze. Not too hard because you don't want to snap it, but you do want the prong to get crushed down, so you can see in there it's actually crushed down. And then I'm going to repeat that on the other side. Exactly same process. Put the male component on, grab my tool, make sure it's all centered, and crush it down. So now I can see that that's where they're going to sit, and then I'll just eyeball the center, which looks to be about there. Again, I will place a mark and make a hole. Okay, so that's our 3 male components done. So I want this to be a little bit snug, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky when it comes to putting it the next ones on. So I'm bringing that down, and you might want to put your phone in to make sure that it's still going to fit. And that's nice and snug now. Okay, and I can see that that's going to sit there nice and snug. So what I'm going to do is just get my marking device and just make a little bit of a mark around about the center of that male. And you can see there that I've just made some marks. Now you will have to be careful because it will rub off. And what I do is I just get my awl and I put my hands in, and just till I feel that point coming through, and then I move it off to the side because I don't want to go through the front of my vinyl. So you can see there I'm just protecting it. It's just come through. I'm not sure if that's picking it up on camera or not. You can see that near my finger there, and I haven't come through that front vinyl. So I get my another head and I pop that inside, and I'm going to come in from the inside, and then the prong of this is going to come to the outside of the back of the little pouch. So you can see there it's just come through just there. Okay, and then I just get a female part and I pop that on. Now I don't try to go in this way with my tool because you can see it's going to stop me. I just come in from the side and just give it a gentle squeeze. Not too hard. Okay, and then that one is in. And I'm going to repeat it for the opposite side. Now I have to do the center one. So again, I do exactly the same thing as I done for all the rest. I make the hole. Then I get my head of my snap and come back up through that hole, wiggling it around till I come through the foam as well. Okay, that's come through. Get the female part, pop that on. And then coming up from the bottom, I will have to line it up. Now it is a little bit tricky coming up from the bottom. You will have to sort of fold it a little bit, but you can see there I've just folded it a little bit, and my black part of the tool is over the head of the snap, and I can just squeeze that. And it is done. Okay, so now we can pop our phone in and smooth our vinyl over, close our snaps, and there you go. You can actually use your phone. And you can see that that's just working nicely. I can go back, I can access my music, and I can use this now at the beach or the pool and not worry about that my phone's going to get wet. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you really enjoyed making our mobile phone cover. It'll be a great little addition to your bag, knowing that it's not going to get damaged or anything like that, and you can still use it while it's in the cover. If you like this video today, give us a thumbs up down below, leave us a comment and tell us what you thought. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and that way you won't miss out on any future posts. My name's Nicole Reid for Darvanalee Design Studio, and thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.